Hi guys, looking at Dynasty trade today in today's Dynasty little portion, I guess. Those listening to this on the audio version over on the podcast feed, you'll see all the Dynasty sections put together on YouTube. We're looking at a Dynasty trade review. This was a trade that went down in one of my 30-team Dynasty leagues, a new league for this season, the Red Rock 30 Mark Blunt division, which is a 30-team real salary rotisserie league. So let's have a look at how it all went down in this trade here. The first team gets Rudy Gay and Kris Dunn. The second team gets Klay Thompson and TJ Warren. But they also get a 2020 and a 2022 first-round rookie pick. Now, the team that they're getting those picks from projects probably to be middle of the pack. So let's say between pick 13 and pick 18 would be the look at those picks for, at least for 2020, around that zone. 2022, who knows how that could work out. That team might completely fall off. They might get considerably better, but one of those picks, we're looking at a mid-round first pick, and that 2022 one, it could look to be a lot better. But that team that did acquire Dunn and Gade on their team, they also have Triple J, Jaren Jackson Jr. and Clint Capella there as well. But not much else in terms of other long-term assets. So we're looking at a team whose core consists of Capella, Dunn, Jackson, Triple J, that is Evan Fournier, Rudy Gay, Trevor Ariza, Bill Hernan-Gomez, Nemanja Bjelica, and then it's Rondo Barea, Bellinelli, Mejri, and Yusuf Sanon on that team as well. So, we're talking about a team that's probably going to be mid-pack in a 30-team roto league for those first-round draft choices. Let's have a look at how this trade then proceeds to potentially break down. We've got TJ Warren and Klay Thompson. TJ Warren, which I think some people might be a little bit surprised at, is still only 25 years of age. Klay Thompson, this would be his age 28 season as well. You can see that Goldstein's PIPM method does not like TJ Warren, a peak of negative 2.09. That is not very good. And I think Warren is going to suffer a significant dip this season with Trevor Ariza, Josh Jackson, maybe McCall Bridges, Ryan Anderson, all those guys likely ahead of him. His peak, I think, is probably this season. Maybe he can get to be a top 120 player. Maybe it's next season. He is getting close to being a peak type player at age 25, getting around that zone. But it does appear that his minutes are going to be taking somewhat of a step back. Well, then you got Klay Thompson, who is age 28 season, a peak PIPM of 2.13, probably this season, maybe next season, and he could become a top 50 player again. I don't think I've got him as a top 50 guy this season. The arrival of DeMarcus Cousins could change things, but of course, if Cousins and maybe Kevin Durant leave next off season, then some of Klay's value would go back up, and maybe he could have some top 40 years. But I think top 50 is more of a realistic expectation for Klay in the next couple of seasons. So that's on one side of that deal. That's the side of the deal that is also getting the two first-round picks, but they're also absorbing over $30 million in salary for this season. Warren is still signed for that $10, $11 million a year for the next 3 years, and Thompson is going to be a free agent after this season. So his numbers, he's currently paid $19 million this season. That's going to rise really sharply. So we're talking about his number in a real salary league jumping for an overall amount there of just over 30 million for both Thompson and Warren. We're talking that's going to maybe jump up to over 40 million combined for those two. So, for a team getting probably the worst end of the stick in terms of value in Thompson and Warren, you can see based on my projections for this season, the Dunn and Gay side actually comes out better than Thompson and Warren for this year. Plus, you're absorbing an extra $16 million in salary on that Thompson-Warren side. You needed to be getting assets back. So people could look at that and go, man, you're getting Klay Thompson. He's the best player in this deal. I think that's debatable. And you still got two first-round picks. So is that a big win? And people would look at that and say, yeah, that team getting Klay and getting TJ and getting two first-rounders is a big win. But you're taking on so much extra salary in that zone. Kris Dunn is in his third season of his rookie deal, so he's at $4 million this season. It'll go up again to about $5 million next season. Now, Rudy Gay is at $10 million this season, so it's a $14 million combination for those two. I think that is tremendous value for this season, and Gay is an unrestricted free agent after this year, so his value could change. But at the age that he currently is, I'm not sure how much more Rudy Gay is going to get on a per-year basis, so there's a realistic chance, even with more money available next off-season, that Gay is maybe only an $8 million player next season. Probably doesn't have the same role he does this year, but it's all about getting Kris Dunn and increasing your ability to be a winning team for this season. Now, that team that did get Dunn and Dunn and Gay, is looking to push up the standings. Still probably not good enough to be one of the top teams in that league. If I go and have a look at the projected standings on Basketball Monster for this league and how it all shakes out. I just got to double check which team that is. That team projects as I think the 11th or 12th best team for this squad, whereas the other team that traded away those guys projects as the second worst team in this league, the one that acquired Klay Thompson and TJ Warren. So they were looking to dump salary and they were looking to acquire salary and get those first round picks back in a deal like that. But that salary situation for those guys is going to get worse next season, probably makes their team worse again. So stockpiling their own assets and stockpiling assets of another team with those two picks. But that first round pick, that could be pick 18 in the 2020 draft. We've yet to see how that works on the Dunn-Gay side. Now, on the Dunn-Gay side, Kris Dunn is 24 years of age. The PIPM method doesn't love Kris Dunn, negative 1.28. That sort of fits in line with what I think of Dunn as a player. He's a starter at the moment, but is he actually a good NBA starter? That I'm not convinced of, but on the current Chicago Bulls team, he's a starter, and he's going to be getting those starter minutes, and he's going to be out there, playing and putting up numbers. And I think he's got top 50 upside. He's maybe just outside the top 50 for this season, but his combination of steals and threes could push him well above that. But how long is that going to last? Will he ever get better than this? Will his offense ever come around? And he feels like almost like a Jeff Teague type point guard who's okay as a starter, but far from a good one and someone you're always looking to upgrade from. But in terms of value for this season, he's the best player in this trade, and that is a helpful thing for that team who acquired him, who looked to push up into that top third of a 30-team roto standings, while also clearing themselves off with a ton of salary to make other moves to get themselves better as well. So that's a key portion there. Get the youngest player in the deal with the best fantasy upside for this season also. Now, as for Gay, I think he's a top 100 player this season, top 90 guy. I don't think he gets better from here. A peak PIPM of negative 0.73, so not great, but still better than what we look at TJ Warren, and he is playing his age 32 season this year, Rudy Gay. But it's all about the difference there of that Dunn side, giving up the assets, dumping salary, getting better for this season, while the other team taking it on into their cap space and acquiring two assets there. So in the end, you look at that deal, and you might have clear ideas of who you think won it on, and I'd love to know which side you think wins the deal. I think that the Dunn side is probably the way to go. Getting a potential top 50 guy for the next 3 to 4 seasons, and at least 2 of those seasons being cheap, I think is a tremendous asset, and you hope that you're good enough and use that cap space to get better, where that draft pick you're giving up is pick 21, 22 in a rookie draft, which is not so much to give up. So I like that deal to get Kris Dunn. That's the side of the deal that I favor, but you can understand what that other team's doing. Taking on salary to acquire assets in those first round picks. Klay Thompson's no slouch, so he's got some value. Still 4 years older than Kris Dunn. And he's going to provide value into his 30s because of what he does. But he's never been the most excellent fantasy contributor. And when the volume goes down, then I think his value could turn into maybe a Kyle Korver guy in 3 or 4 years, which by that time, Dunn might still be putting up top 60 numbers, whereas Thompson maybe is outside the top 150. So there is a change there. But hopefully, though, they can make use of those first round picks. But again, you're giving so much flexibility to that side getting done in freeing up that $16 million of cap space that they can make another deal that might push them into the top 6 or top 5, which means that first round draft pick you're getting might not actually be all that valuable in 2020 and then 2022. Who knows how that's all going to work out. So that's the way that I see that trade. I hope you guys enjoy that. Let me know your thoughts, which side you think wins the deal, and which way you would have liked that to go if you were involved in that deal.